Red Bull Racing's Sergio Pérez took his first win in his new colours in extreme circumstances at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which saw two dramatic tyre failures, one of which to championship leader Max Verstappen causing a red flag. The race directors decided to restart the race with a two-lap sprint, resulting in an unpredictable podium as Aston Martin cognizant Formula One team driver Sebastian Vettel claimed second place, with Scuderia AlphaTauri Honda's Pierre Gasly in third. The Grand Prix began in surprisingly clean circumstances. Pole sitter Charles Leclerc, who actually managed to start the race, got a perfect launch off the line and kept the lead coming out of turn 1. Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen followed close behind Leclerc, whilst Perez went around the outside of Gasly at turn 3, raising him into fourth on the opening lap. Further down the field, both McLaren F1 team drivers went side by side around consecutive corners, with Lando Norris coming out on top. Leclerc's race at the front quickly disintegrated. By lap 2 Hamilton cruised past the Ferrari on the home straight, with his Mercedes W12 appearing imperious down the straight even without the drag reduction system. At the end of lap 6 it was then Verstappen's turn to go by Leclerc, again down the main straight, this time though with DRS in use. Perez followed suit a lap later. Rookie Yuki Tsunoda also made ground early on, the Japanese driver overtaking veteran Fernando Alonso on the same lap in unsurprisingly the exact same place for 7th. Alpine F1 team's Esteban Ocon was the race's first retirement, a puff of smoke seen coming out of the exhaust identifying an issue with his Renault engine. Elsewhere down the field in the early stages, many of the weaker teams pitted for the hard compound tyres very early on, with the C3 compound being predicted to be able to go race distance by Pirelli. The biggest drama from the opening laps saw Carlos Sainz Jr. tumble almost to the foot of the field, as on lap 11 he locked up and went into the turn 8 runoff not long after putting for the hard tyres. On lap 12 race leader Lewis Hamilton came into the pits, Mercedes appearing to have reacted to the Red Bull mechanics who made a dummy run to their pit stop positions. This proved costly for Hamilton as a pitting Gasly meant the world champion had to wait for the AlphaTauri to pass before he could be released, resulting in a 4.6 seconds stop. The following lap Verstappen pitted and in true Red Bull style it was flawless, elevating the Dutchman ahead of Hamilton. A lap later it was a flying Perez who came into the pits. Despite a slow stop he too came out ahead of the lead Mercedes. From this moment the race calmed down with drivers reserving their tyres, only for it to spark into life on lap 31 as Lance Stroll, who was yet to pit, had a terrifying crash down the main straight after a rear-left failure of the C3 compound tyre. The Canadian was helpless as his tyre failed, sending his car snapping left and into the wall at high speed. Driver okay. The crash causing the second retirement of the day brought out the race's first safety car, which came to a close 4 laps later. Verstappen waited right up to the last moment before putting his foot hard down, with the slipstream being so powerful. Verstappen kept the lead at the restart. Behind Hamilton had a sniff at Perez but to no avail, unlike Vettel who overtook Leclerc for 5th into turn 1, the German having the race of his Aston Martin career so far. This wasn't all for Vettel as on the same lap he took 4th, overtaking Gasly down the 2.22 km main straight and within touching distance of a podium. Further down Sainz, who after his early mistake climbed his way back through the field and into the points, unlike Bottas who remained unseen all race. Then the moment which changed the race, as on lap 46 Max Verstappen, who had controlled almost the entire race beautifully, saw his rear left C3 tyre suffer the exact same failure as Stroll did early on, only slightly further down the straight. This time however Verstappen, who again like Stroll stood no chance of keeping control, was sent into the barrier on his right-hand side by the start/finish line at a ridiculous speed. Thankfully again driver okay. A third retirement of the race and a second caused by Pirelli's tyres, with important answers needed from the tyre supplier immediately. The safety car was initially brought out only for the red flag to be flown moments later. With the track cleared and with only 2 laps remaining, A two-lap sprint finish from a standing start saw Perez on pole from Hamilton, with Vettel and Gasly lining up behind. As the lights went out, it was a poor start by Perez. Hamilton, however, whose brakes were smoking heavily whilst waiting for the lights to go out, had a dream start, seeing him pull ahead in the run-up to turn 1 despite Perez trying to cover. Drama then arose yet again, though into turn 1, as Hamilton locked up and went straight on at the first corner, dropping him to the back of the field, ending his run of 54 consecutive points finishes. Red Bull didn't have time for a sigh of relief, as Perez then led a charging Vettel out of the first corner with only 2 laps to go. Further down the field, everyone else barged their way through turns 1 and 2, Sainz again locking up and dropping a couple of places in frantic circumstances. Whilst Perez and Vettel drove away to start the last lap, Leclerc and Gasly battled behind. The Ferrari driver initially overtaking Gasly for third down the main straight, only for Gasly to fight straight back and dive down the inside at turn 1 to keep hold of third spot. The battle ensued down to turn 3, with Norris just behind in 5th, trying to get involved late on. As they crossed the line though at the end of lap 51, it was Sergio Pérez who claimed his first Red Bull victory and helped extend Red Bull's lead in the constructors' standings. Behind, a resurgent Sebastian Vettel crossed the line for second to take Aston Martin's first podium in Formula One and his second driver of the day in a row. Gasly held on for third to take another podium for AlphaTauri, with Leclerc fending Norris off for fourth. A day full of drama and controversy sees both title protagonists out of the points, and Pirelli with many crucial questions to answer, in a day which saw 2 high-speed tyre failures, which thankfully didn't end in a driver injury, a red flag and a surprise podium. The FIA Formula One World Championship moves away from Baku now and onto Circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix in 2 weeks. Copyright Maxi, the checkered flag, all rights reserved.